What exactly was the verse of Firefly/Serenity?
What was that?
In the movie, Jane says,
I've been to the edge. Just looked like more space.
Jane's pretty much right, for once. The verse is really just a 5-star system. Wait, something's not right.
Bright and shiny, Captain, not to fret.
Much better. It's a fictional star system called 34 Tauri 2020 and is roughly 40 light years from Earth around here. It was mapped in canon by Jeffrey Mandel, the same guy who made the Star Trek maps, but it was extended pseudo-canonically by fans with a level of detail and scientific accuracy that I have never seen before. It's over 300 pages.
It's 7,000 pages, Dan.
The spaceships in Firefly do not have faster-than-light travel, so in order to evacuate Earth, everyone had to die. They created generation ships that would take 120 years to traverse the gap between Earth and 34 Tauri 2020. They do have artificial gravity generators, referred to as gravity drives. That's what the spinning thing is in Firefly's engine room. But the ships themselves are propelled via pulse drive, a type of nuclear propulsion similar to the Orion concept, where nukes are detonated behind a ship to push it forward. That's why it's illegal to burn inside Atmo. These drives allow them to traverse the 55 light-hour diameter of the verse within a reasonable time. Here's our solar system for comparison. The verse, while detailed and moderately scientifically accurate, would not be able to exist in real life and would tear itself apart, which we'll come back to later. But let's take a look at some of the major locations of where Firefly and Serenity take place in the verse. We'll start with the core worlds, which are the heart of the Alliance, the capital of which is Londinium. We never see Londinium in the show or the movie, but it's said to be a futuristic version of England with advanced technology and strict societal structure. I don't think I'd want to live there. It kind of reminds me of Singapore. Has anyone ever been to Singapore? It's kind of like the Mass Effect Citadel, but like more fascist. Next is Sainan, another core world. Sainan is often compared to an idyllic version of ancient China, known for its vibrant culture and beautiful architecture. It's the main base of the Companions Guild, and is where Inara Sera was trained. It's also where River Tam was sent to an academy, which we see in the movie. Osiris is the home planet of River and Simon Tam and where their familial estate is. Bellerophon is the planet where the episode Trash takes place. Ariel is another bastion of high science and technology and privilege of the core worlds and was the location of the St. Lucy's hospital heist during the episode titled, you guessed it, Ariel. And moving to the very edge of the core, orbiting the protostar Lux, we reach Persephone. This is where the series starts, where River and Simon Tam and Shepherd Book were picked up from the Evestown docks. It's also where the episode Shindig takes place. There are several protostars in the verse, which were brown dwarfs that were ignited into stars in a process called stellification, which is the coolest name that I've ever heard. If a brown dwarf has more than 13 times the mass of Jupiter, fusion can be temporarily induced via collision with a sufficiently large asteroid, or alternatively, if you just increase the temperature a tiny bit via reflective solar sails or another method, you can also initiate fusion. Stellification should be a video game. Moving on to the border worlds, orbiting the star Georgia is another protostar known as Murphy, and around Murphy is Shadow, Mal's home planet, and the planet Hera, which is the location of the infamous Battle of Serenity Valley, the final battle of the Unification War where the Browncoats, including Zoe and Mal, were finally defeated. Also around Georgia is the planet Ezra, where Niska's Skyplex orbits, Regina, where the episode The Train Job takes place, and the fourth moon of Athens is Whitefall, a large percentage of which was owned by a woman named Patience and looks suspiciously like Southern California. The Red Sun is the other border world star, which orbits in the same orbit as Georgia, but exactly opposite. This is actually a real thing called the L3 Lagrange point, where their gravity cancels each other out, but it's still not going to stop the whole system from killing itself. Still coming back to that later. At the Red Sun, orbiting the fourth planet of Harvest is Higgins Moon, which is the location of Canton, famous for its indentured worker population known as Mudders, and has become known as Janestown, where unbeknownst to him, Jane has become a folk hero, which is one of the best episodes. St. Albans is known for its freezing temperatures and rugged terrain. It's here that we delve into the tragic past of Tracy, an old war buddy of Mal and Zoe in the episode The Message. And Janjin is where part of the episode Safe takes place. The episode Our Mrs. Reynolds starts on the planet Triumph, orbiting the protostar Heinlein, and ends in the Rim on the planet Beaumont, orbiting the star Kalidasa. And finally, the last star in the verse at the edge of the Rim is the Blue Sun. Orbiting it is Haven, which itself is a moon of the planet Deadwood. Haven is of course a haven for criminals, and where Shepard Book, after the events of the TV series, makes his home and ultimately meets his demise. And finally, orbiting the protostar Burnham is Miranda, where the Alliance tried to make people better, and accidentally created Reavers, which are people with their aggressor response just tuned way up, and technically not undead, but I think they're space zombies. Fast space zombies. Change my mind. From here, Serenity and crew run the Reaver blockade and deliver the message to the rest of the verse via Mr. Universe's planet. It's not exactly clear in canon where this is, but it's probably a terraformed asteroid in the same orbit as Kalidasa, which is listed in the verse in Numbers PDF as Station 2E Cygnus. And finally, we get to see what would actually happen to this star system if it was real. And as you can see, it's not even possible to get them to start in their canon orbits, because that's just not how gravity works. If they were in that position, this is what would happen though. The system would be obliterated in less than 60 years. There are some quintuple star systems, but they are not like this. Star systems usually take the form of pairs of binary stars which orbit each other very closely, and the other stars orbit at much farther distances. This system is about 400 AU across. AU is an astronomical unit, by the way, which is the distance between the Earth and the Sun. At Alpha Centauri, the A and B stars orbit at a max of 35 AU, and the third star Proxima orbits at 13,000 AU, which is not uncommon. Those are the main locations. There is way more to dive into if you want to look at that ridiculous 300-page PDF, and I know this was a bit of a short video, but I have a very long video planned for Halo coming out next, but I need your help in order to do deep dives like that. I have a store now with posters and merch. If you don't see anything you want, let me know what you want to see and maybe I'll make it. And if you don't want a physical poster, I'll also be posting some of these as wallpaper digital downloads as Patreon perks for supporters. And if you can't afford anything, that's fine. We also accept likes, subscribes, shares, and comments as currency. Thanks for watching.